And we are live. Welcome back. Mets with a big 10-4 victory as the Bats finally wake up down in South Beach. They take down the Fish with a mammoth 7-run fifth inning and hit 4 home runs on the night. This is what we've been waiting for, to quote the SpongeBob meme. That's what we've been waiting for. We finally got it. My goodness. Wow. This was a really fun game, I got to say. I like the tight ones that keep you, on your feet and your heart beating, but I also like the ones when the Mets take an 8-1 lead in the 5th inning and I can kind of relax a little bit, maybe get a little bit of chores done around the house while I'm keeping my eye on the game. That's what this type of game was today. It was fantastic. We needed to see this lineup finally explode for some runs. That's exactly what they did. Guys, by the way, if you're here, I hope you guys enjoy this content. I'm going to keep trying to do streams pre-game and post-game and do series recaps, series previews like I did earlier this afternoon. So be sure to like and to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to hit my goal of 2,000 subscribers by the end of the month of April. Also, another note, I will be going to opening day at Citi Field this upcoming Friday. It's my first opening day. I've never been in my 30 years on this earth, so I am really excited. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be sitting up in the promenade section, somewhere 506, 507, something like that. So feel free to come by, or if you want to meet up at some point, would love to do that and catch up with some fellow Mets fans. But really excited about opening day. It'd be great to meet some of you people out there. And if your friends or your family, your aunt, your uncle, your mom, your brother, your sister, I don't care, whoever, your Starbucks barista are Mets fans, be sure to show them my channel as well. And we're going to just keep talking Mets throughout the season. And today was a very fun one for sure. The Mets get the victory in the opening game of the series against the Marlins, a final of 10-4. The game opened up in the first inning, and it was Lopez, the second baseman for the Marlins, hitting a solo shot to right field off David Peterson to open the scoring. I got to tell you, I do not know how that ball got out. It did not look like it was going to be a home run at all off the bat. First off, it looked like he got under it. Second of all, he went opposite field to right field. I was thinking this is a can of corn fly ball for Juan Soto, and all of a sudden, it's off the second awning of the deck out there. A mammoth shot for Lopez, and I was thinking, oh boy, this could be ugly. Mets Twitter is literally going to be running around like it's on fire with papers flown in the air, like in SpongeBob. Again, 2 SpongeBob references in one live stream. If the Mets don't end up coming back and winning this game. But anyway, Marlins take the 1-0 lead, and from there the Mets bounce right back off the mat. Third inning, Starling Marte with a solo shot to left field that just barely got out. Happy to see Marte get going. Marte came into this season, it's well documented, not knowing what his role would be on this team and basically taking a step back. I mean, the Mets just signed a guy for 15 years to take his position out in right field in Juan Soto. Starling Marte definitely still has a lot to offer this team. I know a lot of people were saying that they were ready to trade him and trying to get something else back for him, and I can understand that. It'd be nice to be able to get a starting pitcher if that were an opportunity in the spring or in the offseason, but I've always been a big Starling Marte fan. I did believe he was going to be a big cog on this team, and tonight's a reason why you see that. He gets on base a few times, unfortunately in painful fashion. He gets hit by a few pitches, but the home run gets the Mets tied up. And then from there was the 4th inning where the Mets just went, or rather the 5th inning where the Mets went off. It began with a walk, and then it happened, or rather a single for Luis Angel Acuna, and then it was Jose Siri driving him in with a base hit into right center field in the gap to chase home Acuna. Couple walks later to load the bases, including 1-2 Juan Soto for Pete Alonso to hit his grand slam, 4th career grand slam for Pete Alonso. He continues to climb the Mets all-time home run leader list. He is now at 237, so he now trails David Wright for 2nd all-time on the list by 15. Darryl Strawberry, of course, number 1 at 257. So he is getting closer and closer to the all-time home run list for the Mets. That was a great at-bat by Pete. I've been saying it in all of my videos and all of my streams here since I got back in here, how great of an at-bat, how great of an approach that Pete Pete Alonso has shown this year. He's been laying off that pitch low, even the one that is just dying, like a splitter or a little sinker or a changeup that dies in front of him. He's been able to lay off that one. We know the biggest problem for him has been that slider away that he loves to chase, and he's really had a great approach, been really patient so far this year, and that's what ended up putting him in a 3-2 count and gave him the ability to hit that ball out to right center field for the grand slam. And we all know when Pete's going at his best, it's when he's going to right center field and up the middle, and we got to see that tonight. Grand slam for Pete Alonso, but the Mets were not done yet in the 7th inning. Then Luis Torrens comes up, and this was crazy. I mean, Hill out in center field, leaping for the ball, and it looks like the ball actually was still in play when he had a glove on it, and basically popped it over. Obviously not intentionally, but nonetheless, it's a home run. If a ball can bounce off of Jose Canseco's head and count for a home run at Yankee Stadium, then this one most certainly is a home run as well, as you can see on the screen right here. Then we get a 2-run homer in the next inning from Brandon Nimmo. Nice to see him showing a little pop there. That was a laser beam out to right center field. So always love seeing Nimmo getting in on the action with a 2-run homer. And so the Mets put up 10 runs on 11 hits tonight, and they needed it big time. Cal Quantrill looked pretty good that first time through the order. Mark Vientos led off the second inning with a double, and the Mets stranded him. It was a strikeout and then a pop out and then another ground ball out to end that inning. That was really frustrating. I was thinking we are in for a long night if this is how it's going to go the rest of the way. But fortunately, the Mets do break through on the second and third time through the order for Cal Quantrill. That's a hard name to say, I gotta tell you. Cal Quantrill. So they end up forcing him out of the game and then still are able to put up a couple more runs on the Marlins bullpen. So great approach to the plate from the Mets tonight. That first time through the order, Quantrill had his breaking balls going pretty well. The Mets player said that after the game and post-game interviews, but they made adjustments the second and third time through and ended up forcing the Marlins' hand. So happy to see that. We needed this. I mean, considering the Mets only scored 5 runs in 3 games in the Houston series, to explode for 10 here, granted, yes, it's the Marlins. They're obviously not a very good team or not expected to be this year, but Cal Quantrill is a 6-year professional veteran major leaguer, and it's not like they just went out and did it against some total scrub no-name guy. So great to see the Mets put up a crooked number in this one and get double digits in the run column there. Meanwhile, David Peterson was on the mound for the Mets today, and it was an up and down start in my opinion. The dominance was there at times, and then there were some shaky moments that were a little worrisome. But the home run in the first inning from Lopez really didn't shake my confidence necessarily. It was the second inning where he walked the first two batters of the second inning, and I was thinking, oh boy, this could get ugly. Marlins go for a sacrifice bunt to move the runners to second and third, but then a huge strikeout from Peterson, and then he ends up getting a ground ball out another strikeout to finish the second inning unscathed. He then began the third with a walk as well, and the fourth. So 3 straight innings with walks, and that was a little worrisome for sure. But when David Peterson was on, he looked fantastic. And overall for the night, he finishes going 6 innings. He gives up 5 hits, walks 3 batters, but strikes out 9. He gives up 2 home runs, another solo shot out in the 6th inning. That was to the first baseman for the Marlins, Wagaman, or rather the designated hitter for them. Doesn't matter. Wagaman, Wagawa, same thing. Anyway, Peterson looked pretty sharp tonight for the most part. There were a couple innings there where, the walks obviously became an issue, and that was a little concerning, but he was able to wiggle his way out of it and relatively unscathed. Pretty good start for him, going 6 innings, giving the Mets some length there, and then only 2 runs and striking out 9. So really happy to see that from him. As you know, I've said all offseason long, I think David Peterson is going to be the ace for this rotation by year's end. He's going to have a top 10 ERA for National League starters by the end of 2025, and he will be the unquestioned number 1 starter in the Mets rotation by the end of the year. So pretty good start to him for this one. Happy to see his campaign get off on the right foot. As far as the bullpen, another great performance from Huascar Brazoban. I mean, who had that on their bingo card? So far, Brazoban has just been brilliant. Today, he throws a couple more innings of scoreless ball. He went 2, only gave up 1 hit, didn't walk anybody, and struck out 2 batters. It was really interesting. Ron Darling was saying on the broadcast how he felt when Brazoban came over to the Mets last year at the trade deadline that he thought he was getting a little too breaking ball and changeup happy. He was throwing a lot of off-speed and breaking ball pitches where he's really a fastball kind of guy. He's got the velo. He can get it up there and he can blow it by guys. It's just a matter of control and then how he plays the breaking ball and off-speed pitches off of his heater. So he's been throwing a lot more fastball so far this year, and so far so good. I mean, he's scoreless through, I believe it's got to be 4 1/3 innings now. He had the first outing against Houston where he went 2 1/3, and now today he goes 2 more innings. So I believe that would put him at a total of 2 hits and 2 walks on the inning, or on the season, in 4 1/3 innings pitched, of course, of scoreless ball. We saw the same combination used of Brazoban and Danny Young in Houston that we did tonight. And Danny Young, unfortunately, did not fare as well in the 9th inning, called upon just to essentially mop this one up. Gets the first 2 outs of the inning, and then all hell broke loose. 3 hits in a row, and 2 runs come in to score, including a walk as well. He ultimately does get the final out, so we can breathe a sigh of relief. I mean, the fact that Edwin Diaz was even standing in the Mets bullpen, I know he wasn't throwing, but that was very concerning to see Diaz have to stand up. I did not want a repeat of that Washington Nationals game from a couple years ago, or the many others that I think we've seen in the past very similar to that. But with a 10-2 lead, you should be able to put in a guy like Danny Young and not have to worry about it. But things kind of got a little unraveled for him there. Fortunately, he's able to finish out the game for the Mets as they move to 2-2 on the season. They get back to an even 500. In other news around the National League East, the Braves are not only 0-4, but one of their star signings from this offseason, Jurickson Profar, suspended for 80 games by Major League Baseball for a violation of performance-enhancing drugs. So kind of makes sense why Profar was so good last year in 2024, and all of his other career numbers have been basically terrible. He was caught for a masking agent, and that's basically what players will use after they're coming off a steroid or performance-enhancing drug cycle. It's the same thing that Manny Ramirez was caught for many years ago. So Jurickson Profar is off the Atlanta Braves roster for all intents and purposes for at least the next 2 to 3 months while he serves that suspension for the Braves, who, by the way, start 0-4, who also don't have Ronald Acuna back yet, lost Max Fried in the offseason, don't have Sean Murphy because he's also on the injured list, also lost Travis d'Arnaud, and it's Spencer Strider coming off Tommy John surgery and a 36-year-old Chris Sale. So I'm just saying, I'm not counting the Braves out, don't get me wrong, and every time the Mets play them, my butt is going to be clenched about as tight as it possibly can, but I'm not a big believer in the Braves. I wouldn't be buying in them if this was the stock market. I mean, they're getting a little bit older. They didn't add a whole lot this offseason. The one guy they did just add is now going to serve an 80-game suspension, and they're pretty injured up right now. So I don't know. We'll see. I still think it's going to be a dogfight between the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves for the NL East. But good news if you're a Mets fan to see Jurickson Profar going to be suspended for at least the next 80 games. So let's take a look now at tomorrow's matchup for the Mets. They'll look to move over 500 for the first time this year and get their 3rd victory of the season. It is going to be a matchup of Kodai Senga and the 2022 Cy Young Award winner, returning from Tommy John surgery, Sandy Alcantara. His name almost escaped me just now for a second while I try to pull up my notes. We talked about this in the pregame stream of series preview, whatever you want to call it. Senga has great numbers against the Marlins. In fact, thrown the most amount of starts and innings against the Marlins than against any other team in his young MLB career. He has 4 starts and 22 1/3 innings with an ERA of 2.42 against the Marlins, but he actually pitches even better at Lone Depot Park in Miami, a 2.20 ERA on the road against the Fish. So good signs there. One thing not to forget, Senga is going to be on a pitch limit. Mets brass said that after spring training. He really didn't get a ton of work in spring training. He didn't throw that fork ball, the ghost fork, too often. And so Mets officials said that the plan is for Senga to pitch about 75 pitches for the first few starts of this season before they ramp him up to the typical 95 to 100 that we might see out of a starter normally. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If he walks too many batters, if he gets into too many deep counts, it could be a short night for Senga. Luckily, the Mets really didn't have to use too much of their bullpen tonight. I'm assuming Huascar Brazoban won't be available tomorrow because he threw 2 innings today, but he also seems like one of those rubber arm long relief guys, so could be an option. But I'm thinking if it's a tight game anyway, they'll probably go to the likes of AJ Minter, Ryan Stanek, maybe Jose Buto, and they got some other options as well. Reed Garrett, of course, is always someone that they can rely upon in one of those situations. So we'll see how that plays out. As for Sandy Alcantara, like I said, made his first start back from Tommy John surgery on opening day against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he looked pretty decent in that one. He ended up with I believe, 4.2 innings pitched, giving up 2 runs with 7 strikeouts against Pittsburgh in that one. He also issued a couple of walks, so probably still working out the kinks getting back on the mound for the first time in a while. Overall in his career, he's very familiar with the Mets. He's made 15 career starts against us in his lifetime as a Marlin. He has a 3.07 ERA during that time. The most recent starts for him came back in 2022 when he made 4 against the Orange and Blue, and they were up and down. A few of them were 7 innings shutout ball, and the others were 5 innings, but he gave up 3 or 4 runs. So the Mets have tagged him before, but he's definitely had the Mets number in the past as well. So this is not going to be any walk in the park. I think that's why tonight's game was so crucial for the Mets to win. I didn't have many doubts about it, but the way the Mets offense had been sputtering in Houston and the way it did the first time through the order against Quantrill, I was getting a little concerned. But that's why I thought tonight's win was so important, because Sandy Alcantara, coming off Tommy John or not, until proven otherwise, this guy is still an elite top of the rotation ace for any team in Major League Baseball. So we'll see which version of him we get and if there's any limits on him. But it'll also be interesting. This could be a potential audition for Sandy Alcantara. The Marlins are probably going to lose 100 games again this year. I wouldn't be surprised. You saw the lineup they rolled out today. And they're going to be sellers, and they were quick to sell and pull the trigger last year, way before the deadline. They traded Luis Arias within, I think, a month or a month and a half of the season after they started 2024 with an 0-9 record. So don't be surprised if Sandy Alcantara gets dealt. I wouldn't say it's going to be too early before the deadline. I think it'll go closer to, or if not, right up to the last hour of the deadline, because they're going to try to squeeze every penny, every prospect out of opposing teams looking to acquire him. But this could be an arm that the Mets might be interested in adding, depending on how the prospects down in the farm system continue to develop. I think we'll probably see Brandon Sproat, maybe Blade Tidwell, and some of the other guys come up at some point this year. But the Mets also could potentially be buyers to get an established ace like Alcantara. That's obviously going to be one very risky coming off the Tommy John surgery, though. So I think the Marlins will let this play out throughout the season and see how healthy he is and how he performs and what they can get for him. But really excited to watch tomorrow because of a great performance from the offense, from David Peterson and from Huascar Brazoban. Sorry, not you, Danny Young. You don't get any congratulations on this one. But really excited to watch the game tomorrow. That is at 6:40 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be, again, Kodai Senga making his first start of the year, going up against Sandy Alcantara as the Mets look to move over 500 for the first time this year and get their 3rd victory of the season. Like I said, be sure to like this stream. Also, subscribe to the channel. We are trying to get to our goal of 2K subscribers by the end of April. So we still got a little bit of time. Today's March 31st. We got the entire month of April. Hopefully we can make it happen. I really appreciate that. And like I said, I will be at Citi Field this Friday for opening day. My first time going to opening day. I hope to see some of you guys out there. Be sure to give me a shout on Twitter, on Instagram. Twitter's probably the best place to get me, but if you want to meet up or do something like that, I would love to meet some of you guys out there as well. That'll be it for right now. Let's go Mets.